Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Everyone, welcome to the show. So 40-year-old California resident Daniel Rodriguez goes by the name of Danny, also DJ. He's one of the most well-known January 6 defendants because of the violent actions he took at the Capitol. And in the lead up to the attack, Rodriguez created an encrypted Telegram group called Patriots MAGA Gang. According to the prosecutor, Rodriguez and his co-defendant, Edward Badalian, authored hundreds of messages in this group where they talked about war, revolution, traitors, tyrants, and he wrote, quote, "We won't allow criminals to run this country anymore. 1776 forever, if it's the last thing some of us ever do." Rodriguez also said, quote, "Democrats are going to end up dead or in prison." And then after Trump tweeted about his call to action on January 6th, he messaged the group and he said, you know, it would be better to drive than fly because he said, quote, "Some of us want to take things not great on airplanes." And then he encouraged members in the group to, quote, "get a large knife." He recommended that they bring goggles and he advised them on where they could find bear spray and axe handles. Rodriguez also removed people from the group so that they could discuss the plans in a, quote, "secure environment." And he wrote, quote, "Congress can hang. I'll do it. Please let us get these people, dear God." In another Telegram message, he said, quote, "There will be blood. Welcome to the revolution." So on January 6th, Rodriguez was seen on video. He was making a slashing motion across his neck with his finger. And then he said the words, "Joe Biden." Rodriguez was also seen on video in the lower West Terrace tunnel. He maneuvered to the front of the police line inside the tunnel and he was screaming at them through a bullhorn. Sometime after that, Rodriguez obtained a fire extinguisher from another member of the mob. And then he moved to the front of the police line again. He was seen on video spraying the officers with those chemicals. He was in the tunnel also during one of the heave-ho coordinated pushes against the police. A while later, Rodriguez somehow came into possession of a long wooden pole, and he was seen on video using that to jab at the police. Following that violent action, Rodriguez was approached by January 6th convict Kyle Young. Young handed him a taser, and he was seen on video. He was showing him how to turn it on and how to activate the device. So Rodriguez moved toward the front of the police line again, and he was seen on video again, lunging at the officers with the taser. He didn't connect, luckily, but then he left the tunnel. He returned again about 15 minutes later. He took part in another heave-ho push against the police. Then after this, the police managed at that point to push the mob out of the tunnel. So the police were at the front of the tunnel. They were at the opening. Officer Michael Fanone was at the very front of that police line at that time. And this is when the other January 6th convict, Albuquerque Head, that is his name, he grabbed Officer Fanone around the neck. He dragged him out of the tunnel, down the steps, and into the mob. So Rodriguez was outside of the tunnel, outside within the crowd at this time. He saw what happened, and he simultaneously started moving towards them. He reached them, and he placed the taser on the side of Fanone's neck. You could hear Officer Fanone screaming in pain. He, jerked his head back. Rodriguez then jammed the taser into the back of Officer Fanone's neck a second time, and he shocked him again. So once again, Officer Fanone screamed out in pain. He was eventually, thankfully, saved due to some remaining flicker of compassion in the rabid mob. So a few people heard him. He started screaming out, you guys probably know, "I have kids." Some people came to his aid and helped him get back to the police line and to the tunnel where he collapsed. So Rodriguez was really proud of his actions. He immediately messaged his Telegram group and he said, quote, "OMG, I did so much fucking shit, RN, and got away. tell you later. And then he also messaged, quote, tased the fuck out of the blue with a bunch of Z's. Rodriguez was then seen entering the Capitol through a broken window on the side of the tunnel. He walked into another office. He entered one office, walked to another office where he somehow obtained a long pole-like object. He used that pole to smash out another window to try to help more members of the mob get inside. Rodriguez hit the window, they said, at least a dozen times, and then he screamed to other people outside to get in here. From there, Rodriguez entered a third Senate office, and he was seen on video. He was rifling through documents. He stole an emergency escape hood at that point. After being ejected from the building finally by law enforcement, Rodriguez sent yet another message to the Telegram group. This time it was a picture of the gallows that were erected in front of the Capitol. And he wrote, quote, "No Democrats found, unfortunately." What's interesting is that for the first time, some of the pages of this sentencing memo for Rodriguez were redacted. I have literally read through hundreds at this point. I have never seen in any other case, not even with the Oath Keepers, any redactions. So I don't know what that's about. But anyway, following the Capitol attack, Rodriguez and others in his group tried to hide and destroy evidence. But Rodriguez continued to encourage the group to take further action. He said things like, quote, "We must do much more next time." So Rodriguez was arrested on March 31st of 2021, and in a superseding indictment, he was charged with conspiracy, obstructing an official proceeding, tampering with documents, civil disorder, assaulting officers with a dangerous weapon, theft of government property, destruction of government property, and entering a restricted building or grounds. In February of 2023, Rodriguez pleaded guilty to conspiracy, obstructing an official proceeding, tampering with documents, and assaulting officers with a dangerous weapon. So he was facing up to a possible 20 years, maybe even more in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. This time, the government requested a stiff sentence. They asked for 168 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $98,927.18 in restitution. Rodriguez spoke for about 20 minutes at his sentencing hearing, and he said, quote, "Life has always seemed unfair to me." Journalists that were there said that it was the most bizarre statement read or given by a January 6th defendant that they have ever heard to date. Rodriguez gave his sob story, then he feigned remorse. Luckily, the judge wasn't buying it. U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson presided over this case, and she told Rodriguez that he was a, quote, "one-man army of hate, attacking police officers and destroying property." The judge also said that his attempt to downplay the strength of the taser that he used, also his other, quote, "ugly, shocking excuses," made her doubt his remorse. She also referred to Rodriguez as, quote, "among the most serious offenders." And then Officer Fanone spoke as well. He implored the court to give Rodriguez the maximum sentence. And then he called on the federal prosecutors who were there to indict Trump. He said, quote, "no one in this country is above the law." And then he added, quote, "we must all join in the fight against Donald Trump and the destructive, divisive movement he has come to represent. We must offer him no safe harbor. And to his enablers, whether in business, in politics, and the media, give no quarter. In the fight to preserve our republic, there can be no spectators." When all was said and done, Rodriguez was sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $96,927 in restitution, which was to cover the medical bills of Officer Michael Fanone because he suffered a heart attack and a traumatic brain injury due to Rodriguez's violent actions. As Rodriguez was being let out of the courtroom, he yelled out, quote, "Trump won." So proving once again that these domestic terrorists are sorry for nothing. They will do it again if given the opportunity. So luckily, he's going to have more than a decade to consider his position. And if he thinks that it's rough and unfair out here, among the free, wait till he gets a taste of prison and his new close friends. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you guys. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.